Hello, room. Okay, before we move into the next part of the night, I just want to say, careful when you're getting any drinks. We try to clean up as much water that's spilled as we can, but just caution. But yes, so to introduce tonight's guest speaker, I don't really know. She has a lot going on. I checked out some of her online website. She's an awesome artist, but she also has a lot of awesome wisdom to share tonight about how we live out mercy throughout our lives. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Miss Tina.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So my real name is Carmen Briseño. Everybody calls me China. I'm from Venezuela, South America.
Hey.
Seriously? I knew there was something. I was like, that guy is special. I knew. Yeah, so I'm from Venezuela. And everybody, do you have a nickname, by the way? What's your name? Over there, Venezuelan person. Do they call you something else? Are you serious? Okay. Thanks for supporting what I was about to say. Alright. I was about to say that everybody in Venezuela, at least everybody that I know, always has a nickname. And my nickname is China. And it's really interesting because today I saw two of my students who I used to teach when I was a middle school teacher. Okay, so Margaret and Mitchell are here, which make me feel really old, okay? And they call me Miss Briseño, because they do, but you can call me China. I'm what's called a consecrated virgin, which means that my life is totally dedicated to God. I can explain more about that later. But I make a perpetual vow. It's actually the bishop that consecrates me. And actually in August, it will be 10 years since my consecration, which is amazing, yeah. So I'm not a rebel nun who like, why aren't you wearing a habit? She's a rebel nun, she took it off. No, okay? As consecrated virgins, we live more like this, right? So the way that I live my vocation is doing this. I give talks, retreats, mission, camps, English, Spanish. So it's fantastic. I love being here. And that's a little bit about me, but today we're going to talk about mercy. Now, I'm going to show you 3 pictures. I'm going to ask you what they have in common besides the super obvious, okay? So there's here, these pictures, and then talk on your table what they have in common. All right, so picture 1. Picture 2. Picture 3. Okay, besides the obvious, or maybe not so obvious, okay? But what do they all have in common? Can somebody just say? What do you think? So 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Someone's showing mercy.
Very good. Who is that someone? That's kind of like the obvious there. The Pope, okay. But I have a question. What else do you notice that's similar with all those 3 images?
Touch.
Huh?
They're all touching.
Yeah, very good. Who said that? Very good. Yeah. Very, very good. So here's an interesting thing. This is a man who suffers from like boils all over his face. So you can imagine when people see him, they're like super scared of him because he's really disfigured. Yet when he comes to the Pope just touches him. Does anybody know what's going on here? Like, why are you kissing a person's foot? Okay, that's disgusting. What is he doing? What's going on? Washing feet. Yeah, and who are these people? So actually they're inmates. Okay? So this is usually done. Does anybody know when this liturgy usually is, when they do the washing of the feet?
Holy Thursday.
Holy Thursday, very good. And so Pope Francis has gone to different places. This was actually at a detention center. Okay? And then here we go. And the reason why I want to show this is because what I really want us to think about during this talk is how mercy is not just giving something, like, well, I'm going to give this clothes, I'm going to give this can. It's giving of ourselves, someone, right? And so in each one of these pictures, we have the Pope really touching and encountering the poor that way. So I want you to take a look at a parable, but here's the thing. Sometimes when we see parables, I don't know about you, but this type of stuff makes me a little bit mad. It's like, Jesus, a good shepherd, like, he doesn't look tough, okay? Like, Jesus, a good shepherd. Sometimes like, here, oh my gosh, you're a bride of Christ. Here's a picture of Jesus, and he looks like super girly. I don't like it, okay? It's like, no thanks. This is what a shepherd looks like, okay? Shepherd of his time, so check that out. And then here we have, does anybody know what parable this is? Yeah, the Good Samaritan. So if you guys remember, I like this image. This is more like the parable of the Good Samaritan, right? So there's this man who's like half dead, and then people are walking by, people who should really have been showing mercy. So like the priest, the Levite, and then the Samaritan comes. Now we hear that so much that I don't think we get it. We don't get it. Like when the Jewish people at the time would have heard a good Samaritan, they're like, those two words don't go together. Modern version of the parable. Okay, so there was this one guy, Ricardo, right? He was walking from his apartment building, and he got, like, he was going to go to the Newman Center, but he got totally beat up and, like, left over there to the side. And then here comes Christy, you know, she's walking, the minister, and she's like, oh, Ricardo, you know, so bad, but I actually have to go to Holy Hour. I'll come back later, okay? So Christy passes him by, and then Jonathan Mandel comes by, right? And so Jonathan's like, oh, I'll pray for you, right? And he walks along. And then along comes, let's see, ISIS fighter, white supremacist. Choose the person that you most dislike.
Someone from UVA.
Oh, snap. UVA student, really? Is that the deal here? Okay. All right. Insert the person you really dislike, and they show mercy, and you'd be like, no, there's no way that this person would do it. And it's interesting, because when I hear that parable, I'm like, Jesus, of course if I saw a person lying along the way, I would of course help them. But I think this is a great image of the Good Samaritan. Right? So there's a homeless man. How many people just walk completely by? Because, you know what, he's just a drunk. You know, he's just an alcoholic. He's just a drug addict. He's just, you know, some loser guy. Like, why don't you just get a job? And we just walk along. You know, it's really interesting because they said, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, that a homeless man died in the metro, like the subway of New York, which is insane. Died frozen to death, which is insane because think about the thousands of people that walk by, but nobody really notices. So what I want us to do is to take a look at this parable, which is one of my favorites, yet one that really hits hard, which is the parable of the sheep and the goats. Do you guys remember this? So here's Jesus. He's basically giving, this is Matthew 25, and there's 2 other parables about, well, there's several, but anyway, the one that we're going to focus on right now is the sheep and the goats, where Jesus really says, okay, at the end of time, the kingdom is going to come, and it's going to separate the people, basically like sheep and goats. And, is Bella here? Where's Bella? Okay, sorry, Bella. Okay. Bella was with me when we went to Monica in the Dominican Republic. And I don't know if it was with your group or not, but I thought I knew what sheep and goats look like, okay? But what happened was, in Monicas, which is in the Dominican Republic, on the border with Haiti, where we were missionaries, the traffic jam is animals. They're just like in the way, okay? And so I was like, oh my gosh, tell those sheep to move. They're like, Gina, those are goats. I'm like, no, they're like sheep. And they're like, no, they're goats, okay? So the next time I'm like, tell the goats to move. Like, Gina, those are sheep. Like, what's wrong with you? I don't know if it's like Dominicans, but they look the same. And that was really interesting because I thought about that parable, and I think in heaven it's going to be like that. I'm going to be like, you made it really? I thought you were kind of like a goat, but I guess you're a sheep. Here you are, right? There's people, it's true. There's people that we just write off, and we have no idea. So if you remember the parable of sheep and goats, does anybody remember the criteria by which Jesus says, come on, enter into my kingdom? Does anybody remember the criteria? Good. Yeah, very good. So basically, the corporal works of mercy, right? I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. Naked and you clothed me. Okay? So that's where we get our corporal works of mercy. Now, what I want to do is, yes, we're in Lent, but try to make the argument that these are things that we could live every day if we're intentional and to just live a life of mercy. So we're going to go through this really quickly. Number 1, feed the hungry. I'm going to show you a video, and it goes by super, super fast and has statistics and stuff. Once it's done, I'm going to ask you what stood out, okay? So let's take a look. If it works. It always does. All right. So any of that, what stood out? Can somebody just share it? What I think? Yeah.
Farmers produce enough food for everyone to live on a 2,000-calorie diet.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. What else? Anybody else? Your face is like, yeah.
The amount that we spend on weight loss programs.
Yeah, the amount that we spent on weight loss program versus, I don't know if you know what was there, if you saw what was there before, versus the amount that we spend like actually helping the hungry, right? Anything else? Yeah.
Just the amount of food wasted.
Just the amount of food wasted, what were you going to say? Yeah. Yeah, what do we do? Okay, so here's the thing. Let me ask you something. What percentage of food do you think is wasted in the U.S. every year? What percentage? Talk in your group, 10 seconds. What percentage? What do you think?
Name a number.
All right, what do you guys say? What percent? You're so specific. 32.5. All right, yeah. Yes. 40? Actually, right on. 40% of food is wasted. And here's what's really interesting. Where I live in Manassas, Virginia, so about 3.5 hours away. Ooh, Manassas, okay. And it's really interesting because I have a Chinese buffet, which is like the best, okay? I don't know if you've ever been to a buffet, it's awesome. Usually when people go in, they have like a plate filled with food, and then they taste 3 things, and then they dump everything out because I don't like it. So we're part of the problem too. I remember one time I was eating out with a priest friend of mine, and we were having food similar to this. And in my head, I didn't like coleslaw, now I love it. But I left it and I was gonna throw it out. He's like, why are you throwing it away? He's like, I don't like it. He's like, no. Are you allergic? No, I just don't like it. He's like, that's not an excuse, eat it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, eat it. No, you're not gonna throw it away. It's true. It's true. So eat your food. Okay. I actually went over to a dinner to a friend of mine's house. This was insane, okay? And her mom, you can tell that like they don't really regularly sit together to eat and stuff, but they were there. And then the girl was gonna throw away all this food. And mom's like, honey, we don't waste food, which I thought she was just saying like for me, right? And the girl's like, why? And the mom, typical, don't you know that there are poor kids in Africa? There's always people in Africa, or Venezuela, but she said Africa, that don't have anything to eat. You know what the girl did? She was like 14. She stood up, she grabbed an envelope, put the food in the envelope, and said, here, send it to Africa. I was like, aren't you glad you're not my daughter? Like, you'd be dead. You'd be dead. Right now. Yeah, but the thing is, we don't realize that because we don't see the poor, we don't see the hungry. I know that, like I was saying, Bella's been with me to Bonic, or if you've ever done a mission trip, and hunger has a face, it becomes a lot harder to do. So, okay, what can we do? Practicals. Don't waste food. How about that? Okay? Pope Francis always said that wasting food is stealing from the poor. Now, if you want to give yourself a challenge, do what's called the SNAP, or the food stamp challenge, which is, could you live on $4.15 a day? Right? And maybe you're like, yeah, actually, I'm a college student, ramens, right? But no, but really, that's what it is, $4.15 a day. I remember, by the way, can anybody guess what biblical story this is based on? What is it?
Widow's mite.
Very good, the widow's mite. So there's a widow, right? And people are giving all this money, and here comes this lady with 2 cents, nothing. And she gives it, and Jesus points her out. He's like, look at that. So I remember actually at St. Ambrose, giving talks kind of like this, because I was a crazy teacher. But it was great because at the end of a Lent, I was telling my students, I was like, hey, don't just give up chocolate, because sorry if you give up chocolate, it's not against you, okay? But a lot of times, we give up stuff during Lent, which we immediately want to bring back in once Lent is over, okay? I used to be like that, literally me and my sister, we got a box, and we would give up all sweets. But during Lent, we would buy our most delicious sweets and put them in the box, okay? And then it was typical. Halfway through Lent, I would take out all the sweets, and I would tell my sister, does God really care that I'm giving up sweets? Shouldn't I help my mom more because I wanted to eat the sweets? My sister's like, leave it, put it back in. But the thing is that came Easter, it wasn't like Jesus resurrected, it was like, give me the candy, right? So I was telling them this, I was like, make sure that it's a sacrifice. At the end of Lent, one girl, I remember this perfectly, she came up to me and she gave me an envelope, and she said, here, Miss Briseño, and it was $200. I was like, what the heck? She's like, yeah, I just want to give you this money. I'm like, honey, like, this is a lot of money. She talked to her mom. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, where did you get this money? She's like, this is the poor for Bonica. And I was like, where'd you get this money? She said, actually, all the money that I made babysitting during Lent, I want to give it to the poor. And I thought, wow. I was like, why didn't you keep half for yourself? Like, why didn't you just, that's still very generous, right? Like, giving half. She's like, no. Like, you talked about giving everything. I want to give everything. And I was like, man. And then I felt like junk, because here's this girl who was like amazing, right? But just amazing, that gift, right? And even in the small things, even how we eat, right? Even what our plates look like when we're done, even what we think about others, like, that's a little bit about giving food to the hungry. What about giving drink to the thirsty? Well, just typical stuff, right? Just how much water we waste. So when we were going to Dominican Republic, I always tell the teens that we go there, I was like, you have to time your showers. Okay, because if you're like, it takes me a half hour and you're showering, like, the tank is done, nobody can take a shower. So I told the girls, I was like, okay guys, you have to time your showers. Next meeting, when we meet again, tell me how long your shower was, because we meet about 6 months before we go. One girl, this is the first year we went, she's like, oh my gosh, Gina was so crazy. I spent 25 minutes in the shower. What the heck, right? I was like, what are you doing? Are you eating in the shower? Like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm moisturizing, and then my hair, and then my second hair, and then my thing. I was like, stop. I was like, you can't do that, you know? She's like, but I'm supposed to. I was like, girl, you gotta get it done in 3 to 5 minutes. She's like, what? I was like, so you turn on the water, you put soap, you turn it off, then you turn it back on. It was like lightning bulb, right? Like, what? I can do that? I was like, yeah, you better. Because, like, if we're all hot and stuff and you take a 25-minute shower, we're done. Like, we're dead. None of us can take a shower. So even those tiny things, and like I said, unless you've been to a poor country where you've seen how people have to go and get water, we don't get it because we just turn on a thing. So it's just even being conscientious of our use. And so, few things. Number 1, time your showers, literally. Just try it, I bet you'd be surprised. Number 2, sacrifice your favorite beverage. One year during Lent, it was really funny, I was going to give up coffee, which is like almost saying I'm going to give up my right arm, right? But what I did is I went to Starbucks and I got like a mega mocha frappa mocha, like those, $20 drinks. As my last hurrah. That was interesting because I kept the cup, and then every time I really wanted a coffee, I would just put what the coffee would cost, like in the cup. And at the end, there was a lot of money, right? Because I always want coffee. So it's incredible. Here's the thing. If you sacrifice your favorite beverage, let's say that's about $15 a week. If you were to sacrifice that, that's $780 a year, and it costs $1,000 to sponsor a well in Togo, So just by our little small sacrifices, it could really make a big difference, which is incredible. What about visiting the sick and imprisoned? So I'll tell you my story, but sometimes just even the imprisoned can literally mean retirement homes. Mother Teresa, she said she would visit the U.S., and she was super amazed that when she would go to retirement homes, like all the elderly were sitting facing the door. She's like, why do they do that? And the director was saying because they really need hope. Like, maybe today is the day that somebody visits me. We don't really know. And so that is a way not only to visit the sick and in prison, but I have the privilege of actually doing jail ministry. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happens. So whenever you do jail ministry, you don't just walk in like, hey, I want to visit inmates. You can't do that, right? So they have to do all these tests and backgrounds and fingerprints, blah, blah, and then they take you on a tour of the jail, which is traumatic, okay? So the jail, all the doors open, they slide and they close and it's all these things. So as we're going through, I'm like the last of mine. And it's funny because what we do is that we actually can bring the Eucharist, okay? So it's beautiful. We do, a little service, and then we're able to bring the Eucharist to these women. And it's a small room, way, way, way smaller than this, a very tiny room. And they're just saying, okay, so what you need to do is over here, it's best if you sit here, there's a red button, that's a panic button, because if anybody attacks you, you just press a button. I'm like, what? Attack? What are you talking about? She's like, yeah, if there's ever a fight or if you ever get attacked, you just push the button and the guards will come. I'm like, what? So I'm freaked out, okay? And then they were explaining how the inmates, depending on how they're dressed, is the gravity of what they've done. So as you may know from shows and stuff, orange is the worst. Okay, so orange is like killers and who knows what. So the first day that I go with somebody, and I'm super nervous, okay? The doors go cha-chum, cha-chum, and I'm like, let me do an act of contrition in case I die. I'm very dramatic. And so I'm like going there, like super, super nervous, and we enter into the room, and of course I sit right next to the panic button. I'm like, just just, Lord, don't let anybody come. You know what I mean? Let it just be one of those days that nobody comes. Like, I'm here, but just, I'm bringing the Eucharist, and people can, like, Jesus can just kind of minister to them, like, that way, you know? So I'm sitting there, I'm, like, super, super nervous, and then the only person that comes in is this girl, right? But just orange. It's like orange figure, orange. I'm like, oh, man. You know? I'm, like, so scared, so nervous, and in comes Orange, and then the lady that I'm with, it was awesome because she just stood up, she said the girl's name, and she gave her a hug. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, she's human. You know what I mean? All I saw was Orange. I didn't see the person, I didn't think about the woman, I didn't think what else was going on. All it was a label of Orange. You know, and I think that a lot of times it can be like that. You know, and so a lot of times there could be people in our campus like, oh, seriously, he came to a dinner today, he's just so awkward. You know, there's those awkward people that you don't want to sit next to. Or there's those people that you just label them, like, he looked at me the wrong way, or she did this, she did that. We just label people, and we keep them almost like in that prison of saying, you're just not worth it. You're just not worth it. You know, it's really interesting. I have a friend of mine, her name is Simone, and she's super friendly. She's like the friendliest person I know. Bless you. And she was saying that she was like a sophomore in high school, and there was this kid who was like 7th or 8th grade, I don't know, but he was like a genius, so like they bumped him up, and he was in her math class. And so she was like, Gina, the poor kid, he was like so nerdy. Not only just like nerdy, but like looked so nerdy, like poor kid was like nerdy. Nobody talked to him, but he sat behind me. So every day in math class, I would just sit down and be like, hey, Jeremy, how's it going? And like I wouldn't even respond. She's like, you're rude and you're a nerd, like nice, right? So she would always sit by and always say hi. The guy would never say hi. She would see him down the hall, and she would say, hey, Jeremy, like, at least acknowledge him. The guy never responded. She's like, you know what, that's it. Like, I'm just not going to say hi. But she's so friendly, she'd forget, you know? So she'd say, like, hey, Jeremy, and the guy would just never, ever responded. They graduated. She forgot all about him. She graduates from college, all these things. One day she goes to the Staples, and this random dude comes running to her. Simone! And she's like, creeper, like, who's this guy, right? And so this guy's like, it's me, it's Jeremy. And she's like, what? Like, Jeremy's like, I've been looking for you. She's like, oh, right? So, yeah. And he's like, he said this, he told her this. He's like, you know what? Like, high school was literally hell for me. Like, it was the worst. I was bullied, like, emotionally, physically, all these things. It was so bad. It was so bad that I even had a note, like I wanted to take my life. Like I literally had the note like prepared. Because I thought, who would care? Nobody notices me. And I remembered Simone. Simone notices. She always said, hi, thank you for saving my life. It's like, what did you say? It's like, what can you say? Oh, you're welcome. Like, what can you say? Right? And she was just like in shock. And here's the thing, like she didn't do anything extraordinary. She just acknowledged his presence. And so sometimes we're like, I was not bullying her. I just don't like her, so I'm just not going to talk to her. I didn't look at her. I just ignored her. Yeah. Sometimes that's even worse. Right? So maybe when we think about visiting the sick and in prison, maybe you don't think about the way that you treat the person there. We don't know what's going on with them, you know? So a few tips. Maybe visit a retirement home. Sit next to somebody, right? Find that awkward person. Maybe you're that awkward person, right? But just like have that openness to be with other people. Now, clothe the naked. Okay? With donations and clothing. I heard Mother Teresa say something that like cut me to the heart. You know what she said? She said this. She said, don't treat the poor like trash. And what she meant was this. She said, Americans, right? And I was like, whoa, right? Even though I'm Venezuelan, I do that too, right? She said, this is what Americans do. Whenever we ask for donations, maybe you guys are holier. You guys don't do this, but I do this. Like, oh, we're going to do a clothing drive. You know, you usually get the stuff that you kind of really don't like. You know what I mean? Or the stuff that maybe has holes and you really don't like. And you're like, I'm going to be so generous. I'm going to give all this clothes to the poor. And I can buy more clothes, right? And she would say, but instead of throwing it in the trash, because we don't like it anyway, we give it to the poor. So we're treating them like trash. I was like, oh, like that's harsh, right? And she said, no. It's about loving your neighbor as yourself. So would we honestly be capable of buying those $200 shoes if I had to love my neighbor as a self and buy them $200 shoes? I'll explain in a second that I do homeless ministry too. And I'm going to be honest, when it's ever like, oh, I need pants, I'm like, awesome, I'll go to Walmart. Do I shop for Walmart for pants? No. Right? But for them I do. I was like, wait a second. There's something not right here, right? There's something just not right. So what things can we do? Do the hanger challenge. The hanger challenge is this. Hangers are usually hung, like you'll put your clothes, and usually, you know how you hang it like this, right? Like with the hanger facing like that way. So I heard this from somebody else. You grab all the hangers, all your clothes, and you put them facing the other way. And then every time you use an article of clothing, you put it the correct way. Then after a year, see how many things are still facing the other way. And you probably will not have used that. Maybe like it hasn't been that it's ugly or bad. I'm not talking about like during the winter, like there's jackets, but there's probably a lot of clothes that you just don't use. You know what I mean? And other people can make greater use of. Or join my challenge. I've decided this year I'm only going to shop at Goodwill. Okay, secondhand clothing. And that's what I'm wearing today. Maybe you're like, we can tell. No, I don't know. But yeah, no, I actually like this shirt. It's super cute. Like all these different things. Got it at Goodwill, right? Why do I always, like, I donate for people stuff to Goodwill, but I would never buy at Goodwill. Why not? You know, just shop at Goodwill. You're fine. Okay? So maybe some practical tips. Discerning the difference between needs versus wants. No. Do I really need this or I just want it? Can I give up what I want so that somebody can get what they need? You know? Count your clothes. I dare you. Go home and count all your articles of clothing. I remember one girl, she's like, oh my gosh, it was so crazy. I have over 40 pairs of shoes and I only have 2 feet. I was like, oh, stop. Right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Alright. I'm not that violent, I promise. Alright. Then bury the dead. Right? And just practical ways to do that is literally pray for the dead. Or maybe pray for the unborn and the unwanted, you know? This is literally a way to help that. Now, shelter the homeless. I just want to share a little bit about my experience with the homeless. So I found out that behind the buffet place where I usually eat, because I like it, right behind there was a wooded area where homeless people lived in tents. And I thought that was so crazy. Like, how is it that we're wasting all this food and there's all these people behind there that don't have any food? So my friend one time invited me to just go over there and can we just meet them and give them some food. So we did. Then for a year, we're like, oh yeah, we really need to do something. Didn't do anything. Until one day we're like, okay, we have to do something. So then we started just going, getting to know their names, all these different things. And then we decided we would just pop the trunk and just hand out like sandwiches and stuff. And we would sit at the curb. But then we were like, you know what, that's not really dignified. So we're like, okay, what if we brought tables, so we'd set out like tables, chairs, and all sit like this. Because when you're helping the poor, you can put a label on them, like, you're the poor, and I am helping you, right? But when you become friends with people, then the label gets removed, and it's not like, this is the poor, it's, this is my friend, you know? And so it was amazing, because just sharing a meal, just sitting down, and it's not like, oh, we're gonna cook for you and watch and stare at you while you eat. No. So we just all sat around and would just eat. It became so insane, it was so funny that one of the ladies was like, I want to make pancakes. So on the first Friday of the month, because we go for every Friday, she would literally bring her thing to make them pancakes, right? So it was awesome. Then here's the thing, we got to know a girl in that homeless camp that she was pregnant. And so through Project Gabriel, they were able to help her, all these great things. She was able to have a room, to be in a room. But then I thought, okay, what do you do when a good friend of yours is pregnant, like really pregnant? What do we usually do for people that are pregnant? A baby shower, right? And so I was like, you know what? Let's do a baby shower. And she was so happy because what we did, we went to our friend's house and we had games. So this is Carly, right? Games, everybody bought presents. It was just really cool. These are some of the other local people that were there. It was just all of us. You know, it's just like really nice because it's like, it's not the homeless woman, it's my friend. You know, and when her baby was born, we were there. It was just great. And then I was giving a talk about where the homeless people were, and then a friend of mine who's a teacher, he's crazy. He's like, I'm gonna see if Chino, what you're saying is true. So he went there by himself to like find the homeless people that I was saying. I was like, all right. And he met this guy, Tommy, right? And Tommy, he's like, oh my gosh, I had this great conversation. And they became really good friends. But what was interesting about this is that unfortunately, Tommy, well, he had several stints in like rehab and stuff. And the last time we took him, he just had complete liver failure and he passed, right? But when he passed away, I thought, what a beautiful thing that we know him, that we can pray for him, that it wasn't just random homeless guy who died, it's Tommy, like I know him, I know his family, you know? And so it just really is a beautiful gift because it's about people, not projects, right? Oh, we're gonna do the project and we're gonna help the homeless. It's like, no, we're gonna go encounter people and we're gonna be friends. And maybe like China, that's really nice for you, but how do I do that? Okay, I never give out money, I never do, but I always have gift cards. Okay, so I'll buy $5 McDonald's gift cards and I'll have them in my wallet. So when they ask me for money, I'm like, hey, I don't have money, but here's a McDonald's gift card. It was so funny because one time I did that, and then afterwards I went to McDonald's to buy more, and the guy who I just gave the card to was there. He's like, "That's the McDonald's lady." I'm like, "All right." I got the McDonald's lady. Nice. So here's the other thing. What do we usually do? Let's pretend that you're a homeless person, and I'm driving, and there's a red light, and there's a homeless person there. What do most people do when there's like a homeless person right there on the street? You're like, not look away. It's like, oh. It's like, oh no, I have to do something. So I remember one time I didn't have money. I didn't even have a McDonald's gift card. I just rolled down my window and I said, "Hey, what's your name? So I can pray for you." He was so shocked. He's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." He's like, "You made my day." He's like, this is what he said. Some people when they give me money, they're just even like, "Hi." They don't even look at me. They don't even look at me. And just like, I didn't have any money to give, but he's like, "This made my day." So just even making eye contact or having a blessing bag. I'm the worst. Whenever we go on pilgrimages, I think they're gonna kick me out because my friend and I, we went on a pilgrimage or on a trip, and you know how they have free breakfast? We always have we bring Ziploc bags and we put extra stuff. And then, no, I do. And then that way we're walking down the street, we have breakfast at hand out. One time even I asked the people from the flight, I was like, "Hey," because sometimes they let you keep the blankets. So I think they were mad at me because it's like, "Oh, we can keep the blankets." Yes, I had everybody in our group, 40 people. I'm like, "Everybody take your blanket," because they're going to Rome. And so that was like, dude, give out your blanket. There's so many homeless people in Rome. So just these normal things, small things you can do. And volunteer. Give the gift of yourself, So, and here's the thing. Here's what I really just want to kind of land the plane is a lot of times you're like, "Oh my gosh, we need to go and help." But really, Mother Teresa would say, what can you do to promote world peace? Go home and love your family. The poor are here in this table, right? The poor are in your room, in your dorm sections, in your classrooms, people that just need to be loved. They're everywhere, right? And so can we begin to see, okay, what would this look like? What does it look like to shelter the homeless? Maybe somebody who just doesn't fit in, but what are these things and how can we truly live it? And especially for just a few parents that are here, a beautiful thing about mothers and grandmothers and all that is this is what you do, and if your vocation is marriage, you do this every day, right? Think about your moms with you, and you're like, "Mom, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I have nothing to wear, I'm so sick." Your parents are constantly doing the works of mercy. They really are. And I was telling that to my sister. My sister's like, "I never help at a church, I never have time." And she is waking up at 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning to wake up and feed her kid. Is that not a work of mercy? Right? No, it has to be to the homeless. No, whatever you do to the least. So even amongst your friends. Final thought is this. As we're ending Lent, the real icon of the works of mercy is Jesus. What I mean by that is, as we contemplate Jesus on the cross, we can contemplate him hungry, he's thirsty, right? He's naked, he's homeless, doesn't even have a place to be buried. All of these different works of mercy, bury the dead, all these different things really culminated in him. So maybe during this Lent, these next 2 weeks that we have left, it's not just only how can I do that within my friends, but how can I show mercy to Jesus on the cross? What does it mean that he's thirsty? When he says, "I thirst." Mother Teresa, if you've ever been to one of their chapels, they have a crucifix and it always says, "I thirst." Because she understood it wasn't just literally Jesus was thirsty. He's thirsting for souls, right? And so how can I show mercy to others, then also to Jesus, right? So we're just going to end in a quick prayer. And then if you have any questions, comments, I'm happy to hear them and share more. I'm especially interested if you've ever done a work of mercy or if you've ever done something where you felt like you've encountered Christ with the poor. Maybe we could talk about that. Sound good? All right, let's end in prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for all the students and all the volunteers and leaders. We just pray that our hearts would always be open to encounter you, especially through the poor, whether that's physically poor or emotionally poor. We pray that we could be like the Virgin Mary, who, just being young, said yes to God and brought Jesus to the world. That all these young people here could open up their hearts and say yes to God too, and in that way bring Jesus to the world as well. Let us pray together. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, thank you guys. Any comments, thoughts, I'm gonna be so sad. Yeah.
Oh.
No. Dessert. What? Okay, sorry. Let me not take over time.
You say what we gotta do.
So if you have any questions, comments, things that you like, or just want to know Chino more, she'll be around after you wrap up. I know some people have to head out to Mass, but in addition to that announcement, she also has some of her work. Do you want to introduce that?
Sure. I forgot about that. Outside, as a consecrated virgin, people are really nice and they're able to give stipends, and that's great, but I don't have like a job that people like pay. So what I do is I make religious art. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, just outside there's bags and purses and bracelets for men too, don't worry. Different things like that if you want to take a look at, you can do that there. Yeah, and if you just want to talk to me, we can meet over there.
So